This is a 2001 Ford Expedition XLT. It has a front and auxiliary cooler. The interior is not getting much heat put into it. So I did a little diagnostics on it. Checked the coolant level. It was adequate. It's half full. So started it up. I noticed that after about 10 minutes of running, the radiator hose was just as warm as the heater hose, which wasn't very warm. And figured the thermostat had a problem, which it did. Aftermarket thermostat has daylight sticking. When you hold it up to the light, you can see daylight showing up around the seam of it. So I went forward and got a new thermostat and put in it. It still took half hour for this upper radiator hose to start getting hot, cold natured. And the heater hoses was well hot before that, while these were cold. That's the way it should be on startup. Anyway, this is the inlet, and it was putting out good heat where you didn't want to touch it. And then the outlet hose was about 30 degrees cooler, 20-30, with the fan on high inside, and it's only putting out about 90-degree air. It should be almost about the same temperature if it's clean and flowing well. But it takes a half an hour for this thing to get up to operating temperature. This is odd. The radiator hoses stay cold for about 25 minutes. And then it starts seeping the bottom, starts warming up a little bit. And gets up about 170 degrees. So, figured the heater core stopped up in it. So I went ahead and flushed the system with no results. And I pulled the two heater hoses off the heater core and hooked some 1/2-inch hose to them, and the heater core was restricted real bad. So I flushed and back flushed it, and put some acid in it, let it sit overnight. Didn't help it out, so it's done. The auxiliary heater core, same result, it's done. So we're just going for the primary heat. That's all the windows out, stuff in the cold. And this front system is totally capable of heating a vehicle. It just takes a little longer. But it's fine. I mean, you can get by with the front heater core working well, a new one anyway. So I'm going to pull the dash out of it, change this heater core, and go from there. Offhand, I checked the blend door was operating fine, and like I say, I end up out here, the heater core is blocked up, you can't hardly blow through it, so I've got about 3/4 cup of rust out of the system, flushing it, and the heater cores are just, they're just done. So they're just going to have to be replaced. And one of the first things I did, I just let the system cool off some, so it's not scalding hot. Not that it takes a half hour for it to get even hot enough to hurt you. I don't know what its deal is, but for 5.4 it sure is a cold one. The antifreeze isn't getting cooled off out here. It's just circulating through two stopped up cores, and it's not putting out that much. It takes a long time for it to heat up in 30-degree weather. So, but I'd loosen the cap up and make sure there's no pressure on it. Let us begin. Take this cap off. Have a look down in there. Like I say, I've already put new antifreeze in it. Something should have been done 10 years ago. And the heater core probably wouldn't have been stopped up. What I want to do is pull the drain on the radiator and pretty much let the antifreeze drain till this tanks, till you see it go down in the auxiliary fill pipe for the system. We'll empty this tank out. The idea is to get the coolant down below this nipple on the intake, the inlet pipe for the heater core, or the outlet from the motor. So we're going to take that mess off. And the radiator drain is on the passenger side, on the very bottom. I'll stick a little 3/8 elbow with some extension on it into a bucket and catch it if it's like new like this one. Otherwise, flush it. And then go ahead and take these 3 bolts out of this beauty cover. There's 1. There's 2. Lift that beauty cover off. You'll need all the room you can get those hoses off. Now that black stuff is fiberglass, and it'll give your hands a bad day. So rubber gloves are well advised while working around in that stuff. I'll be unhooking that vacuum line setup going into the throttle body and pushing it up out of the way, and probably unhooking it from this T. Getting that stuff out of the way, and there's gonna be some clips up in there the heater cord to deal with. Do the stuff at your leisure. It's going to have to be done before the cord's pulled out, but it doesn't have to be done before you start pulling the dash. So, anyway, I'll get around to doing that. There's really no exact steps out here. Make sure you get enough room to swing both the driver's and passenger's doors wide open. Get access to anything that's gray, pretty much. It's got plastic on it. Now, first thing I want to do, pull these rocker covers up and just put down both sides. You kind of baby them up, I guess. Just keep your hand walking along as you unclip it. Just some copper grippers on the metal, and might keep your parts for the left side on the left side, and the parts for the right side on the right side of the vehicle, or on the floor, or behind it, wherever. But this rubber seal around the door is going to have to be jerked off there. Not a big deal. Then this handle has to come off. Take a little tiny screwdriver and pop these caps, 2 of them. Put them where you'll find them. Try not to skin the beauty part up too much. There's a couple of 7mm in there. I'll take them out. Set the handle and the caps and the screws off somewhere where you can remember how and where it goes back on. This post will be referred to as the A pillar. And I'll just get a hold of it up by the sun visor and give it a little prying around, and it's pretty much over. It's got a little hook that'll have to slide down in, catch whatever down in there. So take the passenger side off as well. It's the same setup. And as well, while you're on this side, get a hold of the kick panel, same as the other side, and give it a pull backwards, and walk your hand up and get the other side loose, and set it in the back. Do the other side as well. I can go ahead and take this 10mm out. There's one similar on the other side that can be removed too after the kick panel is taken loose. Well, it's starting to look like I'm at least working on it now. I'm going to go ahead and remove this center console. This T20 is holding this one down. Here's a T20 with the lid up. and lift this plastic rubber mat up. T20 underneath of it, pretty rusty. I'm going to go ahead and slide the front seats forward. There's going to be two, probably 8mm, and right down below the seatbelt there. There's holes right there. One on each side of this console. The other side I've already taken out, it's the same as this side. Good enough. Push the seats back again, at least the driver's side. I'm going to go ahead and pop this center front console. It's got a couple clips on top of the one screw that's holding it down under this rubber mat. And got a little mess under here to deal with. And take that 10mm bolt loose on that wire harness and unplug it. And clip that front wire harness that's fastened down. Anything that's passing through, hook to it from up front. There's going to be a bolt on either side. 8mm holding the front down. No biggie. Easy. Went ahead and pushed the wire harness out of the plastic area. And should just be able to slide it back. It's got a couple of fingers gripping it up front. Just slide it back. And should just be able to lift it up out of there. Yeah, it should be good enough, I guess. French fries are optional. Now we're into the guts. And while I'm sitting here taking in the view, I suppose I can pull this small trim bezel off this and unplug the full drive switch. Should be able to get in a hold of it here somewhere. Just kind of baby it. Just don't split it in half. It looks good. And just lift the latch up on the full drive switch and unlock it, unplug it. Now that the center console's out, I'm going to go ahead and go back out to the front and check what's happened out there. Need to unhook the battery to deplete the airbag reserve. And in general, just keep from running the battery down from having the doors ajar much longer. And drain it down, it's probably to the bottom of the tank. And covers off of it. I've already loosened the 5/16 8mm head up on the negative. Doesn't matter which one you take off, as long as it's separated, or rather isolated from the battery. Make sure your key's out of the ignition before you unhook this. You can tape that end up, or tape this end up, or put a cap over this. Keep that from flopping back, because I'll be working up in here on these heater cord lines if you don't want that sparking on and off, risk tearing something up. And I took a pair of needle nose and unhook this vacuum tee, and I'm going to take that vacuum line off of the throttle body nipple and peel it back out of the way. Just so it don't get broke. And you can either save the worst for last or go ahead and work on these heater core connectors. Gotta push them white tabs in, push the lines in, and then pull them out on them. Collapse them. Usually one side will release, not the other side. You have to stick to make a special tool. It's kind of U-shaped that grips those. Push it up and release it. But I'll just use a head of a nail or a screwdriver or something to push them up. Now, something I'm going to do for release those, there's going to be some antifreeze come out. And you want antifreeze going down into the spark plug holes from the coil seals. They're not very reliable. So I'm going to lay a sheet of plastic over top of the fuel rail lines and underneath the PCV valve vent pipe. Drape it off the corner of the motor so any antifreeze comes out will run off onto the floor instead of getting into the high voltage workings. And this black fiberglass, you'll want to wear rubber gloves while you're working around in there. You do not want this stuff embedded in your skin. It take a week to get it out of there. Makes your hand look like it's got shingles or something. Bad news. Yep, just a thin sheet of plastic, couple layers thick, I guess. A couple layers thin plastic. Now the plastic's draped directly underneath the heater hoses. And then I got the inside pushed down toward the bell housing, so any comes out, it drains off on the bell housing and stays away from these coils. The ends of these lines have 2 O-rings with a nylon spacer. So once you get them unclipped and you get them moving, you have to watch for that stuff. It'll fall off in the plastic. You could also lay a rag underneath here to catch them in case the stuff comes on off, falls out. So then what I'll do is grab the rag or the plastic and pull it up from the bell housing and roll it up, and then pick the stuff out of it if it comes out with it. There's one of them off. Looks like one of the O-rings is in there. Of course, I had them off. Looks like both the O-rings are in the plastic spacer. Here's the locking clip. One of the keys to getting these loose, I spray some WD-40 around them and then twist the hose sideways and get it moving on the heater core nipple. Then push it toward the heater core and then push them plastic heads in. I go for the hooks on the back and squeeze them toward the line, and then push in on the line and just kind of wiggle it around until they collapse. And then the main thing is to keep the line straight when you're pulling off the heater core. If you get it in a bind it's just going to fight you all the way. You just got to find the sweet spot while you're kind of rotating it in an orbital fashion, and then it'll start working its way forward. And you need to put your other hand underneath of it and catch any of them pieces that might fall out, or just walk your fingers along the tube as it comes off and feel for any of them still on there. But I'm going to reach up there and unlock the other side. As well, when you get them out, and pick those 3 pieces out of there. Let's say it's 2 O-rings and a plastic spacer, nylon. And then match up a couple new O-rings for each line. They're both the same size. And hopefully that nylon spacer doesn't break, or you'll have to buy it probably ends to get them out of it. And there's the other one. All the working stayed down in there. But I've had these off, so and put new rings in it already. Something helps. You'll feel one of these when you clasp them down on their ears in the back, squeeze them together. One will probably go, and the other one's always hung up. And you can grab the line and turn it 180 degrees, and keep pushing on the one that won't come down, and push in against the heater core, and usually it'll give. At least these ones do. Kind of take a seal pick and lift the heads up on the end of the tube, those tabs, and pull those plastic rings off of there. Lift them up, they're like dug into the back of it, and lift the nose on each side up, and then we'll slide forward. The heater core will go through like that, but it might break them unless you waller out the foam around it. I'm just taking a little kind of screwdriver and lifting them up. I already took my glove off, so hopefully I will get my hand into that fiberglass. I suppose I can slide them clips off. I'll stick a neck quarter pin and or a screwdriver, a couple small screwdrivers, either way. Get it up. I've got the quarter pin under that side. Of course, a couple small screwdrivers serve the same function, or 2 quarter pins up in there. See, that's what I'm trying to do on the other side. And that's essentially what you're after, is this plastic piece. The heater core has a raised up ring on it, and you're lifting them heads up with this apparatus to get them to unlock. And go over the ring. And we'll need this for the new heater core. And this is a new heater core. And then once it goes through the firewall, slip this piece on there. And these lock in. But I don't want it locked in yet. That's what holds the line to it. And that's how you can start to release them. Sometimes it helps to spin the whole hose around, and then get the one that's stuck loose. Then start twisting the hose off of it. Have your hand under it to catch any O-rings or anything that might fall off. And one more to go. And I did have some antifreeze run out of this back one when I took it loose. Went down to plastic. Rusty.